say plan to trade, there's a couple things that have to be planned in order to make your trade. So the first thing you want to go over when you're planning your trade is you want to look at market sentiment, right? So market sentiment just basically means, is the market bullish today or is it bearish, right? And make this a little bigger. Okay, yeah. So is the market bullish or is it bearish today? And there's certain ways that you can get the market sentiment. Um, it's a lot easier to see it intraday as you see more data throughout the day and you kind of get an understanding of where we at currently. There's certain also other ways to learn about it. For example, um, advancers and decliners is one way. We haven't gone over that, but that's one way to understand market sentiment. Another is also VIX. So VIX gives you an idea of, is the market gonna, like, it's like a confluence to tell you if market will bounce here, will it consolidate here, will it follow through, does it have room to follow through? And I'll kind of be going over that a little more in detail later on. But this is just a couple ways that you can find out market sentiment, right? And after you find market sentiment, let's say, for example, market is strong today, right? So after you realize market is strong, you start to dig into the sectors, right? So which sector is the strongest, right? Which sector is pushing the market? Why is the market bullish today, right? So you scan through your sectors, and let's say, for example, today tech is strong. Okay, so tech is the reason why the market's bullish because it's pushing the market. So now that we find out what the strongest sector is, after that, we'll look into what's moving the sector, right? So let's say tech is the reason, right? It's moving the sector. So tech's the reason the sector is moving, right? Now we dig into our big tech, Nvidia, Intel, big names like that. Let's say Intel's up like 5% today. It's really strong. It's setting up for, or yesterday it went up 5%. It's setting up for continuation. It's clearly trending, right? Once you realize that, that's when you can start looking into trades. But just because Intel is trending, that sometimes that's not enough. Sometimes you have to compare it to other names as well. And it's also a good rule of thumb to understand why. So the reason why a stock is moving is just as important as knowing what's moving. So sometimes there's certain catalysts that move stocks. For example, it could be earnings, it could be news. In tech's case, it'd probably be like something new is getting dropped, or like a new collab is coming or something like that. Some contracts getting signed, anything of those sorts, right? That can that can definitely be the reason why the stock is moving, the stock is trending, right? Another good rule of thumb is, let's say Intel is strong, right? It doesn't hurt to look at Nvidia as well, just to see what Nvidia is doing, as it's like its direct competitor. If they're both strong and the sector strong, then you have triple confluence to go long on on the underlying, which would be Intel in this case, right? And after you do all of this, that's when you finally go down to your daily setup. We're gonna call this section parameters, right? Right. So parameters. Parameters meaning this is where everything Chris has taught you to this day comes into effect, meaning daily setup. Are the EMAs aligned? Are we flagging? Are we breaking out? Um, is the higher time frame aligned? So I'll give an example. So we have higher time frame alignment. So let's say we're going long on Intel, right? The daily and the weekly look really good for a breakout on Intel. So higher time frame is aligned, right? Um, yeah. Yeah, I don't want to go too in depth with it. I just want to kind of give you guys just a brief understanding. And I do want to show you guys something. So I'll show you guys how to find out sector strength and like what's moving and all of that in a second. Um, but yeah, so higher time frame alignment and then and entry criteria, which pretty sure Chris will go over it. But it all just depends on your strategy. We do levels and EMAs here, so you just want to make sure it's a breakout of a level with the EMAs on your side, and yeah, so that would be our entry criteria. Everybody has different strategies, so you would just this goes for every strategy, right? Like if you would like to trade Fibonacci levels or whatever, let's say something else, right? This still goes for that because you want all of this to be aligned before you take your trade, right? Um So for sectors, it's also strongest and weakest. So since we're traders and not investors, we can't just always be bullish. Like we have to be bearish at times because we make money from both sides. So as you guys can tell, the market has been shit lately. So we've have been having some nice downside moves. So if you're just bullish all the time, you're gonna be missing out. And it can also hinder your P&L, like hinder your growth as a trader. You have to be open to look both sides. So now that's why I said bullish and bearish. When you go to sectors, you want to look for the strongest and you want to look for the weakest, right? And the same thing goes for the weakest sectors. You want to look at what's moving the sector, what's dumping the sector the most, why it's dumping, and then that's when you go to parameters. So it's the same thing, just vice versa for the downside. So with sectors, it's good to have a watch list just of all your sectors. You can have, I'll show you mine right now. So I have a sector section of all the sectors here. A good rule of thumb, well, honestly, if you guys don't have this, I can share this with you guys, but it's good to make your own watch list. Like it's highly recommended you make your own watch list. And if you don't know what all the sectors are, you can always just ask ChatGPT or Claude or anything. Like you could just use AI. It's super simple. Or you could just look it up on Google. But yeah, so these are all the sectors right here. There's some more, but these are just like the big sectors because there's sectors and then there's subsectors as well. But yeah. So with that said, once you have all the sectors, right, you do a quick scan of all the sectors, right? Let's say we think that the sector's strong, right? Let's do tech. So since we're talking about tech, let's just do tech. So right now, I currently like tech because we had a really strong close, and if we can get above the 200, we'll be reclaiming these three EMAs. Overhead would probably be around 50, but that should be more than enough moves for our singular names to have nice movement. And another confluence is semiconductors as well, because tech and semiconductors they normally go hand in hand, which also looks pretty good. It closed strong on Thursday, and it's above all the EMAs. So if we can get above this, um, I do see some more potential upside. We don't really have much overhead, maybe around like 403, but this looks good for me. Another thing, right? Do you guys know what Finviz is? Finviz? Anybody? Yeah? No? Okay, some yes, some no's. Okay, cool. Well, for those who don't know, it's a very, very, very important tool to have. This is Finviz, right? So what Finviz basically does is it's like, well, it honestly has like a bunch of uses, but the way I use it is I use it to track sector strength. So you check sector performance here, right? And and it just helps you find like the best movers. So I'll give you guys an example since tech is the theme, so we're gonna go through with tech for all of this. But just know you can use this for absolutely anything like healthcare, biotech, anything. like any industry. So right now, so you go to FinViz, you go to groups, and then here you have your sectors, right? Or here you have your groups. So your sector, you can pick your industry, your individual industry, um, or you could go through sectors first, and you can see which sectors are the strongest. This is more like of a general area, right? So right now, I mean, it's been pretty obvious, but energy has been ripping. So normally you would want to go through 3 month performance, 1 month, and then 1 week sometimes if you're gonna day trade it. But yeah, 3 month performance and 1 month performance, those are like the biggest, those are the most useful ones. So energy's been ripping, right? From like since the beginning of the year. And you can see it here too. Like it was obvious to see because everybody talks about like Exxon, Chevron, all those numbers flying or all those stocks flying, but it clearly shows here, right? So energy strong. Um, any something else that's also been on the move is real estate. Um, and tech is starting to make a comeback, right? So that's a good sign. This isn't really that um useful data because it's only a 1 day performance. You'd want to look more for 1 month. But then let's say you want to look more individually. So let's say you want to look at tech, right? So you just come down to industry and you go to technology. And then it shows you exactly what part of tech is the strongest. Because tech is just a sector in its whole, but there's also subsectors inside of tech. So for example, a subsector in tech is communication equipment, uh, ITS, computer hardware, blah blah, all this stuff, right? So you want to look at what's strongest. Um, I did say I was gonna show you guys a name that I'm really looking at that I really like and kind of fits all the criteria for this. So for that example, just remember about communication equipment, okay? But yeah, communication equipment ripped on Thursday. The 1 week performance, it's where is it? Okay, so it's been it's had steady growth. Like it hasn't been the top mover, but it's been like top five. So communication equipment on a 3 month, it's up 20%. Communication equipment is third, and then on the week it's down here, and then it ripped on Thursday. So just remember about communication equipment. But yeah, so you can just go over every single name, like every single section, like consumers, consumer defensive. Name I did like was there's a ADM which looks pretty good, and it's part of farm products. And with the 1 month performance and 3 month for farm products have been ripping lately, so they've been pretty strong, which isn't really a good sign for the market. But I mean, we're traders, so we just trade what trends. But yeah, let's say you're interested in tech, right? So you see that communication is moving, but you don't know what stocks are in communication equipment. You don't even know what stocks are in the tech industry. You just know your basics, which is your big boys like Nvidia and Intel and all of that, right? What you can do is you can go to screener, right? And then you go over to ETF, you go to performance, and let's say you want to look at tech, right? So you put in XLK for tech. Um, you then you go to order by. Um, let's say we want to do 1 month, right? So you look for the 1 month. Where is it? Here it is, performance month, and you go by descending. Okay, so these are the strongest names in tech right now. So CN, Light, Dell, SNDK, AKAM, and I mean, if you look at these stocks on TradingView, like everybody knows SNDK has been an absolute ripper lately, and it shows it here. So let's say you don't know, like nobody knew of SNDK or nobody thought to trade SNDK until it started ripping, right? But if you had this stock trainer up, you'd be able to tell that on the weekly SNDK is on a run. Um, Another stock that I like is Cien, which is the stock that I was talking about that I really really like. So it's the number one runner in tech right now, right? So back to the checklist. So plan to trade, market sentiment, blah blah sectors. So right now we know sector strong, tech sector strong. We know communication equipment has been strong in the sector. Um, Cien is so if you guys don't know what Sienna Corporation is, you can always just look it up. Like, there's no need to like deep dive in it. You can always just ask ChatGPT or anything like that. But yeah, so basically, Cien is it's a communications equipment company, and what it does is um I believe, hold on, let me take a quick look. Okay, so basically it's just the backbone of like communications. So it builds network systems and data infrastructure, and it's used in a lot of military military equipment, which is good because we're currently in a war, unfortunately. But yeah, so Cien has been on an absolute ripper, right? Um, Now we know tech is strong, the sectors look good. Let's say the market is bullish tomorrow. Market sentiment is to the long side. Based on our system, right now it's at all-time high. So right now it's testing it actually hit new all-time high, but it closed like right by previous all-time high. So if we get a gap up above this, you would play this to the upside. But yeah. So and this is also the strongest mover in tech. So there are also other setups for tech as well, like AMD. Chris was talking about it. Intel also looks really good. Um, what else? Yeah, it's named like Intel and AMD. Nvidia also doesn't look that bad, but you ideally want to trade the strongest stock in that sector because those are the strongest trenders. So right now, we're used to trading Mag 7, which is nothing wrong with that, but sometimes Mag 7s are gonna be in a shithole, like how Nvidia has for like past few months. Oh wait, Nvidia, like when it was just on a chop box for like a few months. Um, so when this happens, yeah, exactly what Chris said. Right now, money's moving out of Mag 7s into the smaller stocks that they depend on. For example, Sienna. Sienna has been on an absolute ripper. So you don't want to necessarily trade Nvidia when it's chopping like this, knowing damn well the sector's still strong and Sienna's on an absolute run. So you'd want to start looking at stocks like these. But for us option traders, there's a certain so now that we're like expanding our library and not trading Mag 7s, um this is where like the Greeks actually come into hand and strike selection and more complex things like that. I'm not going to be going over that today, but that's something that you do have to keep in mind of, like especially with implied volatility and historical volatility, things like that you do have to keep in mind of. And yeah, we're in the works of talking about that and making a class for it, but it's just going to be um too much for one class. So I basically just wanted to show you guys FinViz, how to use it, how to find your best sectors, and how to see what's trending right now. But yeah, do you guys have any questions? Let me show you guys a couple other names that I'm looking at as well in the tech sector. So SNX been pretty strong. Um, Dell's been on an absolute ripper. Intel is up here. Look, Intel is number 9. AMD is number 9, and Intel and AMD are setting up for nice moves. So this is just confluence. I remember somebody the other day was talking about, are you sure Intel is gonna keep going after it just went up like 15%? But it's like, if all your data is telling you that Intel has more room to move up, then like there's no reason why you should let that bias stop you. Like if a stock is gonna move up until it doesn't, like you will not be able to control that. You just have to play accordingly. So Intel looks really good. Intel's top 10 on in the tech sector for movers. A couple other names that I do like in the tech sector. Let me show you guys. Keys also looks really good. Keys is a name that I really like. If the sector does move, it'll drag Keys along with it. It's not the highest performer, but it's definitely up here. It's like top 50, I believe. And it can definitely make a nice move off this lag break. And also with Intel, if you guys okay, so Intel right now is actually trading under historical implied volatility, meaning that contracts are actually underpriced. So you do have the ability to make a lot more money um from like if the stock goes in your direction, you do have the ability to make a lot more money than what it would normally make you since IV is currently under historical IV at the moment. I'll like I said in the other class, we'll be able to explain that better and you'll understand what that means. But right now, just know that option contracts for Intel are currently undervalued, which is a good thing for us and a bad thing for the big market makers who sell the options. But yeah, that's pretty much everything I wanted to go over for now. Um, I do have some names that I want you guys to look at. Guild, I'm pretty sure Chris went over Guild already. Let's see. ADM was the one I was talking about for farm products. Looks pretty good. BG also. Let's see what else did I have. Did have some biotech names. I do want to show you guys Lunar. Lunar looks absolutely insane. Looks like it's ready to rip. So this is the weekly chart. If we get above this 24, 28 level, I mean, like, what's stopping it, right? I mean, you just play this accordingly. This will just be like a all-time high breakout. You said to go over advances and decliners? All right, cool. Uh, let me. Yeah, lunar options are not bad at all. The bad thing about CN are the options are pretty fucking expensive, but you do have time, so you can take pretty far out the money since it's a pretty uh like expensive stock itself. It's like 400 something. Um, let me see if there's anything else. Fly is also really nice. What else? Okay, so these are some stocks that I do like for downside in case we are bearish. So right now, the consumer sector isn't strong. It's actually weak right now. Let me show you guys real fast. Where's consumer? Yeah, so consumer is actually pretty weak right now. Um, so this kind of gives me confidence to continue more down. Since if you look at consumer on a daily, it tapped to 20, now it's coming back down, and it kind of formed like a reverse hammer, which is good. And also Lulu did the exact same thing. So right now it's tapping to 20 and it formed the inside day. Um, I mean, over the 20 EMA would destroy this thesis, but I do think that Lulu will continue down because we just broke a key support. We tapped as 1, 2, 3, 4, and we finally broke under it. We broke out, or we broke down, and now we're retesting it. So I do believe Lulu has more room to go down. Uh, Another name is KTOS. Um, it does look good if we can get below this level right here. Um, Duolingo is also another one, but these are kind of names that I'm just waiting on. Like these aren't names that I would trade tomorrow. It's just names that I have on watch with my alert set. Now is another one as well. So these are just names that I would keep on watch for the downside. And yeah, so I do plan on making another class on like how you would trade non-liquid or low volume liquid names like this and Duolingo and stuff like that. But I'm not gonna go over it right now. But it does deserve its own class because it's a whole different like way of trading. Like timing and strike selection actually matter more than the actual price action in my opinion. So it does deserve an entire class. But I'm gonna go over advances and decliners real fast. Okay, right. Where is it? How did we get to it on um on PC? I did it on my phone. Let me look for it real fast. Chris, do you remember how we got to it? It was it stocks? No, it wasn't stocks. Pretty sure it was markets and then stocks, or was it? Get stocks overview, market overview. Oh, there you go. Okay, yeah. So advances and decliners. This is some real sauce. Like you guys need to pay fucking attention to what I'm about to tell you because this will help you guys so much. So if you guys have to pull out a notebook real quick and write this down, I highly recommend it. So advances and decliners, right? This is pretty much market sentiment in a nutshell, right? So basically, so there's different ways of reading this. So there's this it's 0 to 2%, 2 to 5%. I believe this is like 6 to 8%, and then this is over or 6 to 10%, and this is over 10%, right? Same thing here is uh negative or 0 to -2%, -2% to -5%, and then it's just the same thing, right? Okay. So what you want to do is this is how you read this. So when the 0 and the 2 and the 0 and the -2, they're even, it's high signs of chop, right? Same thing with -2 and -5 and +2 and +5. If they're even, it's high signs of chop, right? Um when one is above the other on 0, 2 and 0, -2, it's normally a good indicator that it'll be bullish, not super bullish, but is leaning more towards the bullish side, right? In cases like Thursday, where 0 and +2 and +2 and +5 were higher than its counterparts. So you see 2 and +5 is at 853, and -2 and -5 is at 606, and then these are clearly way different. It's a sign that it's gonna be a super bullish day, right? And it's vice versa. If two are higher than these two, then it's probably gonna be very bearish. And for example, let's take a look at Qs today on Thursday. Look at Qs on Thursday. Did you see the daily candle on Qs? That is very bullish. So if you take a look, we had a very nice upward trend day on Qs. And you would have known this before the market even opened if you looked at advances and decliners. So that's the strength of advances and decliners. Yeah, so they do move intraday and they also move pre-market, but it's a good idea to have pre-market so that you can kind of go into the day with understanding like what the sentiment is. But yeah, so I mean if like news comes out and it's super bullish, but the advances and decliners were bearish, like it's something unexpected, obviously it'll change. But it does change intraday, but it's never like a drastic change. Um yeah, yeah, it's a good way to yeah, I can draw out a chart later and show it to you guys so you guys can kind of understand. It's kind of hard to explain, but it's easy to get once you like see it visually. But yeah, this is a very important tool to look at every day before market open, just so you can get kind of an idea. So let's say you're like going into the day super bearish, you see a really nice bearish setup, but market sentiment looks like this. I would probably just adjust accordingly. I mean, I'm not saying it's not gonna work. I just probably not like full port or use my full size because it looks like market's gonna be bullish today. So these two are the important ones to look at: 0.2 and 2.5. If these are ever high, then like market is just going straight up. But yeah, do you guys have any questions so far? Yeah, so if you guys look at chat to see what Chris is sending, he kind of gives a visual representation of how to read advances and decliners. So if you're more of a visual learner, you should be able to understand it better there. You know what it is like? eh, Wait, what? Do you know what it is like? Is it the percentage change of a bunch winner and losers? Yeah, so it basically just tells you what the market is doing. So like it'll tell you what's moving. If since on Thursday this was the bullish sentiment, it means there's a lot more stocks moving up than there is moving down. So it basically like it's like data from like everything, and it kind of just like it's a market overview of all the names and see what's moving in the market. Like it gives you like a general understanding. Yeah, so if O2 and O negative 2 are ever even, it means like half the market's up, half the market's down, so expect chop from the indexes. No, 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 Aloe. So it's gonna be so O2 is always gonna be higher, but you just compare it to its counterpart because O2 is closest to zero, so it's always gonna be a little higher. There's gonna be cases where 2.5 could be higher, but normally it looks like this. Yeah, I mean you'll pick up like I just want you guys to know how to read it, but you'll pick up how like certain bars affect market conditions as you guys look into it. Now that you guys have the idea of how this works, um, you'll be able to understand it a little better.